Value of the appraisal in home buying or home selling process.
But first, let's hit it. Hi, I'm Victoria. Welcome to our channel and podcast.
And if this is your first time in our podcast YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe and get notified.
Honestly, call text all the time at 252-327-3357. We love talking to you. Do not be shy. Also, don't forget to grab our buyer's guide and seller's guide in the description below because it's chock full of information we have put together for you to read. It's not just how to get in touch with us. There's so much more information than that. And I hope you love it because we took some time for you to make it for you.
Exactly. Now, as we know, the appraisal actually, a property appraisal, is actually have a very critical role in buying a property or taking out the loan from a financial institution or bank. No?
And we realized recently that we've never done a video on appraisals, which was crazy to us because it's such an integral part of the buying and selling process. And yet, so buyers need to understand it, sellers need to understand it. Different types of loans have different steps for it, but just understanding the buying process and what it means in store. And now we thought this was an important video to make for you.
Exactly. Basically, we're going to unpack something about basics of the appraisal, loan types that comes with the appraisal, and tactic for a successful appraisal for your own house, even buying or selling.
Now, the definition, always good to start with definitions, right? The definition of an appraisal is that it's the evolution of worth by an independent third party. It is not related to me as the real estate agent. It is not related directly to your lender who has a vested interest in saying this property has to appraise for a certain price. No, it's done by a third party. What's the purpose?
The purpose really is to ensuring the lenders don't overlend based on the property value.
Now, the process for all of this is going to be, and sometimes these appraisers think that they have a lot of power and then the market value can come into play as well. But the process is going to basically be examining the conditions of the home, commanding the amenities of the home, and comparing similar properties in the area to that home. What are the challenges?
In the time window. And the challenges and the complication, it comes with some product loan like FHA and VA because they have more strict and guidelines for the property appraisal.
Now, when the biggest issue is going to be if there's not a lot of issues that are around. Now, the implication is that this can cause difficulties for financing a home if it doesn't match the need, the thing. So what's a tip for the seller before we move on?
The seller tips actually is super important because you should pay attention to the factors that my wife said that affect your appraisal of your property at the time of selling your house that can add value to your property.
Okay, now let's talk about the loan process a little bit more in detail. The riskier transactions are going to be FHA and VA loans.
As we said,
the VA loan and jumbo mortgage loans, if it's like $1 million home, we don't have a lot of those in our area. Now, the FHA and the VA are going to require inspections are done before, and they're going to have stricter standards that the house has to be a livable house. So it cannot just be a house without air conditioning. It has to have a way for air to circulate. It doesn't have to be AC, but there has to be, if there's no AC, that there's screens on the window so you can open the window, something like that. But you have very strict guidelines for FHA, and it's honestly the hardest one to get there.
Exactly, and the whole point is really to take lenders actually want to control this situation because they don't want it to lend to you more money.
Right. Now, the appraiser's role is going to be making sure that the amount can be repaid and that the house is worth the money that they're going to take out. The challenges are going to be in areas where there's construction, where there's renovation. If it's a bridge loan, which means you haven't sold your other house and you're buying a new house and you're going to have to sell your other house later. Jumbo mortgages, these are all riskier for the lenders. Also, if it's a multifamily, can be a problematic.
And exactly. And if you're a seller, definitely, and your real estate agent is going to put in the market that your house is eligible for FHA or VA loan, make sure you're prepping and doing all your due diligence before you're putting your house in the market.
Here's a tip as well. Say a VA is a great program. They also the strictest with the appraiser. Now, understand that the VA loan does not go underneath. The appraiser does not go underneath the house. It doesn't go on the roof. The appraiser walks around in the house itself. And if anything else, they're walking within the the house. So they can be picky about like electric outlets, stairs, something inside the house that makes it livable. They are not necessarily going to be looking at the roof unless there's a gaping hole in the attic. Then of course that can be seen in the house. But basically understand that they are looking within the house to make sure it is a livable house.
Exactly. And some of the consequences means that they might deny to give you that loan or the offer that you put for that house. And that is what you need to exactly pay attention to.
Right. So the sellers have to be aware that improvements can help appreciate the house as well. So if the more improvements that you make on the house, the more the other people are going to get appraisal as well. So understanding that, understanding what is needed for a loan to happen is super important, and what the confines are. Like I said, FHA and VA loans are great loans. Just understand when you're talking about your house, it has to be a livable house.
And if you really wanted to do your due diligence complete, we suggest that you do even pre-inspection,
right,
because anything that is wrong with your house, and when your house goes under the contract, you are aware of, and you might take an action in some of the items that you can do it right away.
Right. So if you are thinking that, inspections are going to have a problem with the crawl space, if you do ahead of time, replacing the moisture barrier, you're going to have a lot of less problems, less complications with said moisture barrier, because you just put a brand new one in there. Also, termites can be an issue, or pests. All loans are going to require the pests. So if you have not checked your house for pests for a while, it's a great time to get it taken care of, because it's much cheaper for you to take care of it beforehand. Take care of the pests and the bugs on the termites. And then whenever the buyer comes in, because then the buyer's going to show up and say, oh, all of this thing costs so much more money than what you would actually pay for it before we even got to the market.
Exactly. And VA loan actually is very strict about termite inspection. They are not.
You have to turn the termite inspection into the lender. So it's not like the home inspection does not have to be turned into the lender. The termite must be turned into the inspector.
Now, from the strategy that we suggest also to the seller for the successful property valuation, what they are really.
Oh, well, obviously we're going to be staging the home, and we're going to recommend for any sort of pre-inspection as much as possible. Make sure your house is presentable. Make sure that any problems that you're worried about that you can fix much cheaper on your own are taken care of before we put that house completely on the market. Therefore, you are not worried about the VA, you're not worried about the FHA, you're not worried about appraisals coming in and saying, oh, you don't have a screen on your window. That's now going to cost you $500 when you go buy a screen much cheaper than $500.
Exactly. But as a real estate agent, really, our duty is sitting with you and determining the fair market value, because if we go much more higher than the market value, then you're going to have issue when your house goes under the contract.
And if you're a buyer, of course, our job is going to be the opposite. We want to save you the most amount of money. And if the sellers did not do their due diligence ahead of time, and now we come in and say $500 because we need new screens and new windows, so that's going to be another $1,000 because we need to ensure that the air quality. Now, see, on the buyer side, we're going to ask for more because we can, and that wasn't taken care of, and it's going to say, oh, VA says that we have to have a good working window.
And what is the lender's perspective? Basically, the lender's perspective is ensuring that they don't give a loan more than the property value, and which that property value really comes from the VA appraiser.
So we hope you loved this video. We can't wait to talk to you. Don't forget to call us at 252-327-3357.
And also support our channel by subscribing, and see you in the next podcast and video. Thank you.